Howdy everyone, and welcome to the next lesson on Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I'm going to be looking at sci-fi and horror together. The starter activity is, can you name any sci-fi films where there are horror elements in them? Okay, so pause the video. How many sci-fi films can you think of where there are horror elements in them? Okay, so you may have come up with some of these. So you've got Cabin in the Woods, you've got Alien, Daybreakers, Cloverfield, I Am Legend, Pandora, Resident Evil, Moon, Starship Troopers, Predator, Signs, and Wreck. So I'll talk you through some of these. Resident Evil is obviously a zombie film with quite a lot of horror in. You've got Alien, with aliens in, obviously, with the chasing of the characters by the aliens. So that's what makes it horror. Cabin in the Woods, great film where you've got it's kind of like a comedy horror, but it's got lots of frightening kind of sci-fi elements too. Moon, it's got some horror in it. Starship Troopers, Signs, which else should I talk about? Daybreakers, which is it's the future, which makes it sci-fi, but there's also, because it's got vampires in it, it makes it horror as well. I Am Legend is very similar. Okay, so I do recommend actually all of these films, particularly Cabin in the Woods, which you might find available on the internet. All right, so these are the sorts of films that you may have come up with. So this lesson, we're looking at how horror elements are used in sci-fi films, okay, as a convention. So we're going to be looking at this clip first of all then on how Invasion of the Body Snatchers uses horror elements, okay? So let's have a watch.
Normal now. Surely I have done nothing to cure them.
Don't worry about him. He's completely housebroken.
I need a martini, Beck.
Onion or olive?
Doesn't matter. I want to pour it on the charcoal. I can't get this stuff to burn.
Oh, martini isn't dry enough. I'll get you something to start it. For drinking purposes. You're looking ship-shape.
Thank you, sir.
Here we are. Jack! Jack!
They're like huge seed pods.
This must be the way that putty in my closet was formed. Miles, where do they come from?
I don't know. If they are seeds or seed pods, they must grow someplace on a plant, probably. And somebody or something wants this duplication to take place.
But when they're finished, what happens to our bodies?
I don't know. When the process is completed, probably the original is destroyed or disintegrates. No, wait!
Right, but I take a dim view of watching my own destruction take place.
There isn't any danger until they're completely formed. We learned that last night at your house. Your blank didn't change right away.
Not until you fell asleep. Miles, when the change does take place, do you suppose there's any difference?
There must be. Wilma noticed it. So did little Jimmy.
So did I. My father.
That must be what he was doing in the cellar last night, placing one of these. Oh, I'm sorry.
I felt something was wrong, but I thought it was me because I've been away for so long. They have to be destroyed. All of them.
They will be. Every one of them. Listen, we're going to have to search every building, every house in town. Men, women, and children are going to have to be examined. We've got some phoning to...
All right, so we'll stop it there. So I'll take it back in just a second, and I'm going to analyse this scene and how it kind of uses the horror elements. So...
They have to be
further.
Away. Send somebody to be the witness. Something to start it.
Okay. So obviously horror element number one is that it starts off quite low key, nothing really happening, except that you've now got this slight pan shot into looking at the greenhouse.
You're looking ship-shape.
Thank you, sir.
So then pause here just a second. This is called a canted shot. A canted shot is where you've got a slight tilt on it to make it look creepy. There's something creepy about this shot because it's on a slight angle. You've also got almost as also we're from the position of the pods looking up at Miles, okay, giving him a slight sense of power. However, because he's being framed in that door frame, it gives him a sense of being isolated and kind of like locked in. It holds on this for a long time, so we've got quite a slow edit. Then we get this burst of music as the pod cracks open, and we get a close-up shot of it and the gushing of the foam coming out.
Here we are.
Back to this shot. Music gets louder. So you get this back and forth of close up, mid shot, close up, mid shot, close up, mid shot. So again, we're seeing him in a slight low angle as though we're looking from the pod perspective, but we're also giving him quite an element of power, despite the fact that he's framed like that with the door frame. And then he suddenly shouts. Oh, get that burst of close up. Jack! The scream, and then the background kind of isolates him here because he's still on his own, even though he's just called out to Jack. And then we get the whole crew all together. Again, you've got the women in the background. You've got this almost like sexist element to it where the men are taking control. They're also kind of like blocked in by nature, as almost like it's giving them protection. Let's keep going. And then we get these reaction shots. We also get Becky here from another canted shot. Whenever it's on a slight tilt like this, it shows something creepy going on.
Pods.
This must be the way that putty in my closet was formed.
Take that back just a little bit.
They're like huge seed pods.
This must.
So we get Jack talking now, but then we also get then this shot where they're putting the distance. Now, they might be putting the light and the pods are in the dark, but they look quite claustrophobic and closed in together, almost as though the aliens are slowly coming to get them.
Miles, where do they come from?
I don't
Miles,
know.
where do they come from?
They are seeds or seed pods. They must grow someplace on a plant, probably. And somebody or something wants this duplication to take place.
So it mentions this growing
When
on a
they're
plant
finished, what
almost as
happens
though
to our
nature is
bodies?
turning on them.
I don't know. When the process is completed, probably the original is destroyed.
Now there's quite a lot of talking,
Disintegrates.
watch this.
No, wait!
Right, but I take
So he
a dim
makes
view of
this
watching my
error
own
here
destruction
where he
take place.
stops him from making the decision to hurt them, because almost as though curiosity is taking over humanity yet again.
Danger until they're completely formed. We learned that last night at your house. Your blank didn't change right away.
Pause here just a little bit. So now Jack's wife is kind of placed in the centre as though she's been cut off from these guys. The men taking control yet again. So how this all kind of fits into horror then is that it all builds towards this creepiness, even though it's quite
Change does
slow,
take place.
methodical.
Do you suppose there's any difference?
There must be. Wilma noticed it. So did little Jimmy.
Oh, we'll stop there. Okay, let's take it back. So you can see where the horror fits into sci-fi quite often. Now, if you watched any of the clips from these films that I showed to you, which I do recommend perhaps you watch a trailer for, you can kind of see how it kind of fits into that. With the cinematography, with the sound, even with the mise-en-scène, with how the characters are set up. So what I'm going to do is, in just a second, I'm going to show you an analysis of the other scene, that's quite creepy, as an example, so that you can analyse the one we've just been looking at. Okay, so here's the question. Okay, is this an interesting question? You can kind of guess the answer to this question. Why is this not as frightening to modern audiences? We get to see really creepy films now, and this sort of film doesn't really frighten anyone in the modern day. All right, let's have a look at the question then. I'll skip that. So, identify one genre convention used in your chosen film. We're going to go with horror today, horror and sci-fi. And then C, we're skipping B again. Explore how the convention you have identified is used in one sequence from your chosen film. In your answer, refer to at least one key element of film. Cinematography, mise-en-scène, editing and sound. So again, this convention, this typical thing you find in horror. So it also asks you to pick on one key sequence. Don't do more than one, otherwise you won't be credited. And then focus on cinematography, mise-en-scène, editing, or sound. It says here at least one, so you can pick as many as you want, but don't spread yourself too thinly. Don't go for all of them unless you've got lots to say and lots of time to write about them. You're better off going deeper into a couple rather than focusing on shallow analysis on just on all of them. Okay, so here's an example then. Pause the video to read this yourself if you want to, but I'm going to read it now. All right, so what this question, A, horror in sci-fi is the answer. You get 1 mark for that. And then C, the director of Invasion of the Body Snatchers uses the dead body when Jack and his wife show his clone to Miles and Becky to explore the convention of horror in sci-fi. The use of darkness in the foreground where the body is shows to the audience that something eerie is about to occur. Having the light kept in the back shows that there is hope, but the scene is focused on the action up front. The non-diegetic music builds within the scene, and when the cuckoo clock makes a diegetic sound and all the characters jump in surprise, it shows frightening new information that is about to be revealed. Audience members may jump also at this sound. Furthermore, the choice of the close-up of the lack of fingerprints is typical of sci-fi because it is a sudden revelation of something unimaginable occurring, which is what happens a lot in this genre when horror is involved. The music is also used when Jack's wife makes the observation of the similarities to the body and him. As she finishes her rushed dialogue, the music swells and gets louder one final time. Therefore, horror in sci-fi is used well in the film through the sound, but also the cinematography and the mise-en-scène through music, close-ups, and light versus dark. So there's loads. I've written about quite a few there, and this is quite a threatening analysis because you don't really know where to begin. So if I point out the sort of thing that you should look at, then make sure firstly that you state the scene that you're looking at. So the one that you're going to look at is the pod discovery scene. Okay, then I mention the film language, the use of darkness in the foreground, okay? And then I've also mentioned the effect, what the meaning of that is on the audience. Don't forget to mention the audience. The light being kept in the back, again, a little bit of analysis there. The non-diegetic music builds. So make sure that you're labelling these film language before saying what it suggests. Diegetic sound, frightening new information is about to be revealed. Audience members, don't forget to mention the effects. The close-up of the lack of fingerprints is typical. This word typical is really important for this question. It wants to know, how is this horror convention used regularly, and how does this film use this convention well? Okay, something unimaginable is occurring. The music is also used when Jack's wife makes the observation of the similarities to the body and him. As she finishes her rush dialogue, the music swells and gets louder one final time. Okay, and then you get this kind of like summary at the bottom. Okay, of what you've just been discussing. So all those things I've circled, okay, are all film language, and don't forget to talk about the fact that it's typical, and also that you're analysing the audience. Okay, what the audience reaction is. Okay, so this analysis here, it looks threatening on the surface, but actually all it's doing is bouncing across all these different film language while talking about what it suggests to the audience and how it makes us feel as we watch it. Okay, you're going to be doing this same analysis, but not on this sequence. You're going to be choosing a different scene. Okay, so these are the things you could look at then. So let's break down these shots. So firstly, you've got this mid shot of him, and we're kind of looking up at him, okay, giving him an element of power, but because we have this background, he's kind of like trapped in there, isn't he? We get this high angle close-up shot of this and looking at the creepiness of it, okay? And on the next one, we get this close-up, but you don't see his whole head. It kind of cuts off top and bottom as though part of him is being trapped. He's almost like caged in with this environment. And you've also got quite a lot of blur here, so he's put into the foreground quite closely. You've got this, as you can see, this tilted shot. It's called canted. So this canted shot of him, and it's also a long shot. So it puts him in this frame like that, giving him an element of power because we're looking up at him, but also giving him this element of weakness because he's trapped in this. We have this, oopsie daisy. We have these guys all trapped in this one area, okay, being surrounded by the nature that actually is kind of coming to get them with the pods. We get another canted shot. We get another canted shot of Becky, and it's a close-up, and she looks scared. She's also been cut off top and bottom because this kind of gives them a sense of claustrophobia. So how this fits into horror then is that the characters are scared, the audience are scared, you're getting the music in the background, like building, swelling, and then lowering, and higher over and over again. So what I'd like you to do then is I'd like you to pick some of these film language elements that I've just been looking at, whether or not it be how close the characters are together, like in this one, or it could be the cinematography in this one, or it could be the cinematography in this one, or you can talk about the music. It's entirely up to you, okay? But use this analysis in order to guide yours. So talk about this scene where they discover the pods and these shots in analysing how horror in sci-fi is used, okay? Also, I'd like a bit of feedback on how I've done this lesson with actually annotating some of the shots. Does this help a little bit? You let me know, okay? So this is the final activity, and I want you to analyse how is horror in sci-fi used in Invasion of the Body Snatchers using the pod scene. Oh, I can't spell. Okay, so any questions, let me know. All right, that's it. That's everything.